Have you ever shared something with your family only to regret it later? Maybe it led to unexpected drama, pressure, or even a strain in your relationships. The truth is, after 65, there are certain things that are better left unsaid, not because of secrecy, but because protecting your peace is more important than pleasing everyone else. In today's video, we're going to uncover 5 things you should never tell your family if you want a stress-free, peaceful life. These are the things that, if shared too openly, can lead to misunderstandings, unnecessary worries, or even unintentional burdens. But here's the good news. By making a few simple changes in what you choose to share and what you keep private, you can maintain better relationships while also safeguarding your own happiness. And trust me, the last one on this list is something that almost everyone gets wrong. So stick around until the end, because what you learn today might just change the way you handle family conversations forever. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got plenty more valuable insights coming your way. Have you ever felt like the older you get, the harder it is to truly express yourself around family? Maybe you've caught yourself holding back, second-guessing your words, or even regretting something you shared. If so, you're not alone. Many people over 65 struggle with this exact issue. As we age, our role in the family shifts. We go from being the ones giving advice, making decisions, and holding everything together, to sometimes feeling like we have to tiptoe around conversations just to keep the peace. And that can be frustrating, even exhausting. But here's the thing, the key to a peaceful, happy, and stress-free life isn't about saying more, it's about saying less. That's right. There are certain things that, no matter how much you love and trust your family, are better left unsaid. Not because they don't matter, but because sharing them could lead to misunderstandings, unnecessary stress, or even hurt feelings, things that, at this stage in life, you don't need. So, in today's video, we're going to talk about 5 things you should never tell your family after 65 if you want to maintain peace, protect your happiness, and avoid unnecessary drama. Now, before we dive in, let me ask you something. Have you ever shared something with your family, only to have it backfire? Maybe you were hoping for support, but instead, you got criticism, judgment, or even arguments. If that's ever happened to you, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your experience because trust me, you're not alone. Alright, let's jump into the first thing you should never tell your family after 65. The first thing to keep to yourself, your entire financial situation. Money. It's a tricky subject, isn't it? When we were younger, we worked hard, saved, and did our best to provide for our families. But as we age, money can become a sensitive topic. Maybe you're financially comfortable, and your kids assume that means you can help them out whenever they need it. Or maybe you're struggling, but you don't want to be a burden, so you stay quiet and worry alone. Here's the truth, both situations can lead to problems if you overshare. If your family thinks you have more money than you actually do, they might start expecting financial support, whether it's for emergencies, their kids' education, or even just a little extra spending money. And let's be honest, it's hard to say no when it's family. You love them. You want to help. But if you keep giving, even when you can't afford it, you could end up putting your own financial security at risk. On the other hand, if you openly talk about your financial struggles, you risk making your children or loved ones worry too much. They might feel guilty or obligated to help, even if they're struggling themselves. And suddenly, your financial stress becomes their stress, which is the last thing you want. So what's the solution? Simple, keep your financial details private. If you do need help, be selective in how much you share. And if you're financially comfortable, set clear boundaries early on. Saying something like, "I've got my finances in order, but I need to be smart with my spending so I can stay independent," lets them know you're okay, but you won't be handing out money every time they ask. At this stage in life, your priority should be your own financial well-being. You worked hard for what you have, and you deserve to enjoy it without guilt, pressure, or expectations. Now, let's move on to the second thing you should never tell your family after 65. The second thing to keep to yourself, your deepest regrets. Regret is a heavy thing to carry, isn't it? Maybe there are things you wish you had done differently, mistakes you made, opportunities you missed, or relationships that didn't turn out the way you hoped. It's natural to reflect on life as we age. But here's the thing, not everything needs to be said out loud. If you start telling your family about all the things you regret, they might take it the wrong way. For example, imagine telling your kids, "I wish I had spent more time with you when you were little." You might mean it as a reflection on your own choices, but they might hear it as blame, as if you're saying they weren't appreciative enough, or worse, that their childhood wasn't happy. Or maybe you confide in your spouse, saying, "I regret not traveling more when we were younger." Suddenly, what you meant as a simple reflection turns into hurt feelings. They might wonder, were they unhappy with our life together? And what about regrets about past relationships? Maybe you've thought about an old love, someone you never got closure with. If you bring it up now, even just as a passing thought, it could stir up unnecessary emotions for you and for the people who love you now. The truth is, regrets are part of life. We all have them. But at this stage, dwelling on them won't change the past, it will only cloud the present. Instead of talking about regrets, focus on what you've learned from them. If you want to pass on wisdom, do it in a way that encourages growth, not guilt. For example, instead of saying, "I regret not saving more money," you could say, "One thing I've learned is that financial security gives you freedom, and I hope you prioritize that in your own life." See the difference? It shifts the focus from regret to wisdom. At the end of the day, your past doesn't define you. What you do with the time you have left does. Alright, we've covered two important things you should never share with your family: your full financial situation and your deepest regrets. Let's take a deep breath here. This is an important conversation, and I appreciate you sticking with me. If any of this is resonating with you, let me know in the comments. Have you ever shared something with your family and later wished you hadn't? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now, let's keep going, because there's another crucial thing you should never tell your family after 65. Have you ever shared something personal with your family, only to regret it later? Maybe you thought you were opening up, looking for support, or just sharing a moment of honesty, but instead, it led to unnecessary stress, judgment, or even conflict. That's the tricky part about family. You love them, you trust them, but that doesn't mean everything needs to be shared. In part 1, we talked about two things you should never tell your family after 65, your full financial situation and your deepest regrets. These topics can create unnecessary guilt, pressure, or misunderstandings, things that can make life more stressful instead of peaceful. Now, let's continue with another thing that's best kept to yourself, your thoughts about family conflicts. The third thing to keep to yourself, your true thoughts about family conflicts. Let's be honest, every family has drama. Whether it's sibling rivalries, differences in parenting styles, or long-standing resentments, conflicts can arise in any family. And as much as you might want to step in, fix things, or share your opinion, sometimes the best thing you can do is stay out of it. Here's why. Imagine one of your children comes to you complaining about their sibling. Maybe they feel like they're always the one making sacrifices, or they're upset over something that happened years ago. You listen, and in an effort to be supportive, you agree with them. You might say something like, "Yes, I've noticed that too, and it's always bothered me." At that moment, it feels like you're bonding with them. But what happens later? Family conflicts have a way of resolving themselves over time. That same child who was upset today might be laughing and getting along with their sibling next week. But now, they remember what you said, and suddenly, you're caught in the middle. Maybe they even tell their sibling what you said, and now you're the one being blamed. And let's not forget about conflicts between your children and their spouses. If your son or daughter vents to you about their partner, it's tempting to take their side and say, "You deserve better," or "I never really liked them anyway." But if they work things out, now you've become the enemy. I've seen it happen so many times. Parents get pulled into conflicts, thinking they're just offering support, only to become part of the problem. So, what should you do instead? If a family member comes to you about a conflict, listen, but don't take sides. Instead of agreeing or criticizing, say something like, backhand index pointing right, I understand why you're upset. I hope you two can work it out. Backhand index pointing right, family is complicated, but love is stronger. Give it time. This way, you're showing support without adding fuel to the fire. You're protecting yourself from getting stuck in the middle, and you're allowing your family to resolve their own conflicts, which, let's be real, is the best thing for everyone. And here's the real truth: after 65, your priority should be peace, not drama. Now, let's move on to another thing you should never tell your family, something that many of us are guilty of sharing too much. The fourth thing to keep to yourself: your personal health concerns and excess. This one might surprise you, but hear me out. Health becomes a bigger part of life as we age. We go to more doctor's appointments, take more medications, and experience more aches and pains. Naturally, it's something we talk about, especially with family. But sharing too much about your health can actually cause more harm than good. Think about this: if you constantly talk about your illnesses, doctor visits, or new symptoms, your family might start to worry excessively. They might feel helpless, stressed, or even guilty for not being able to do more for you. I've seen this happen with so many seniors. They start noticing that when they bring up their health, their kids suddenly seem distant or uncomfortable. It's not that they don't care, it's just that hearing constant updates about every new pain, every test result, every worst-case scenario can be overwhelming. And let's not forget the flip side: some family members might not react with concern, but rather with dismissiveness. They might say things like, backhand index pointing right, you're just getting older, that's normal. Backhand index pointing right, you worry too much about your health. And suddenly, you feel like they don't care or that your feelings aren't valid. Either way, it creates stress. So, what's the solution? Of course, it's important to share major health concerns with your loved ones, especially if you need their help or support. But instead of constantly bringing up every small health issue, focus on the positive whenever possible. For example, instead of saying, prohibited, I had another bad night of sleep. I think my insomnia is getting worse. Try saying, white heavy check mark, I've been working on improving my sleep by going to bed earlier. It's helping. Or instead of, prohibited, I'm so worried about this new medication. What if it causes side effects? Try, white heavy check mark, I talked to my doctor about a new medication today. I'm hoping it will help. This way, you're still sharing, but you're not making every conversation about illness or worry. Another great tip? Have a trusted friend, someone in your age group, who you can talk to about your health concerns. Sometimes, it's easier to talk about these things with someone who truly understands what you're going through. At the end of the day, your family loves you. They want you to be healthy and happy. But if every conversation revolves around health worries, it can create unnecessary stress for everyone. Now, take a deep breath. We've covered a lot, haven't we? So far, we've talked about backhand index pointing right, keeping family conflicts out of your conversations to avoid unnecessary drama. Backhand index pointing right, being mindful about sharing too much health information to protect your peace and theirs. If any of this is resonating with you, let me know in the comments. Have you ever felt like family drama or health discussions made life more stressful? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Alright, we've covered 4 things you should never tell your family after 65. But there's one more, and trust me, it's a big one. Let's keep going. You've made it this far, and I want to take a moment to say, you're doing something truly powerful. Just by watching this, you're taking steps to create a happier, more peaceful life for yourself. And that's something to be proud of. Now, let's get into the final thing you should never tell your family after 65. This one is important because it has the power to protect your emotional well-being and keep your relationships strong. The 5th thing to keep to yourself: your true opinions about their life choices. Let's be honest, when you've lived for 60, 70, or even 80 years, you've gained a lifetime of wisdom. You've seen mistakes happen, learned from experience, and you know when someone is heading down the wrong path. And when it comes to your children or grandchildren, it's tempting to step in, give advice, or try to guide them, especially when you see them making choices that don't seem right. But here's the hard truth: most of the time, they don't want to hear it. Even when you have the best intentions, unsolicited advice can create distance instead of connection. It can make your family feel judged, misunderstood, or even defensive. Think about it. Have you ever given advice only to hear something like, "Prohibited, you just don't understand. Times are different now." Prohibited, "I know what I'm doing. I don't need advice." Prohibited, "I appreciate your concern, but I've got this." And suddenly, instead of helping, it feels like you've pushed them away. This happens because, as much as we want to protect the people we love, everyone needs to live their own life. Backhand index pointing right: your kids need to make their own mistakes. Backhand index pointing right: your grandkids need to find their own path. Backhand index pointing right: and you deserve peace instead of frustration. That's not to say you should never give advice. But the key is waiting until they ask for it. Here's a little trick. Instead of jumping in with what you think they should do, try asking, "White heavy check mark, would you like my opinion on this?" White heavy check mark, "I've been through something similar. Do you want to hear what helped me?" White heavy check mark, "I trust you to figure this out, but I'm here if you ever want my perspective." By framing it this way, you give them the choice, and when people ask for advice, they're much more likely to listen. And if they don't ask, let them be. It might be hard, but your peace is more important than their choices. One of the biggest lessons in life is learning when to step back and let people learn on their own. Now, let's take a deep breath together. We've gone through all 5 things you should never tell your family after 65. Backhand index pointing right: your full financial situation, because it can create unnecessary pressure or expectations. Backhand index pointing right: your deepest regrets, because dwelling on the past doesn't help you or them. Backhand index pointing right: your thoughts on family conflicts, because it's better to stay neutral than get dragged into drama. Backhand index pointing right: too many details about your health, because while sharing is good, oversharing can create stress. Backhand index pointing right: your true opinions on their life choices, because sometimes silence is the best way to keep the peace. So now, here's the big question. Speech balloon: have you ever shared something with your family that you later regretted? Maybe you told them something about your finances and felt pressured afterward. Maybe you gave advice that wasn't received well. Or maybe you got involved in family drama and wished you hadn't. If you've ever been in that situation, you're not alone. And here's the best part: it's never too late to change. Starting today, you can set new boundaries. You can choose peace over stress. You can decide which parts of your life are yours to keep private. Because here's the truth: happiness after 65 isn't about pleasing everyone else, it's about protecting your own peace. And that's exactly what I hope you take from this video. Now, before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Backhand index pointing right: which of these 5 things do you think is the hardest to keep to yourself? Backhand index pointing right: have you ever tried stepping back from giving advice? How did it go? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if this video helped you, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss more content like this. Remember, you deserve a life that is stress-free, fulfilling, and truly yours. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.